Hello, everyone. It's Meridith again with the ACTS Agency. And today I have another special goodie for you. I have an interview with the incredible pianist, Emile Pandolfi. Welcome, Emile.
Hi there, Meredith. Thanks for having me to talk with you.
I'm super excited. Emile is new to our roster this year. He has an incredible history of performing in the performing arts genre. And what I love the most about Emile is that he really has an unusual approach to his arrangements. Tell us more about that, Emile.
Yeah, that's my my specialty that I just love doing. Is I love arranging in a very visual way. To me, I call it sound painting. And when I am working on a piece of music that I want to get across, I'm very much seeing visual images that I'm trying to portray with the music. And I think Debussy did that beautifully. Rachmaninoff did it with intense passion and power. And then Chopin with the lovely melismas, the embellishments that he was able to do with his the upper register of the piano. And those three composers are the greatest influence for me. And what I hope to get across at the end is an emotional painting that people can visualize in their mind when they hear the music.
And I think one thing that is really so neat and so special, aside from the fact that you have different programs that come from, different areas of interest. I mean, you have everything from Debussy and Rachmaninoff, but you also have played remarkably with the music that's featured in Disney, for example. So you span the entire gamut.
Well, I just love beautiful music, and I love music from movies and musicals because, particularly in the musicals, they have such wonderful lyrics that tell a story. And being at the piano without any words, you have to try to make the piano speak, try to make it actually tell you the story. It helps naturally if people are familiar with the words, but even if they're not, if they're hearing something for the very first time, it should engender in them some kind of sweet emotion, if that's the thing, or some powerful passion and feeling. And I just love it. I feel like the piano is the king of instruments, and you can do anything with it if you treat it properly.
Right. And I also love that you have the option. You will often introduce a soprano for some of the numbers to just add. It's almost like the icing on the cake. It seems like it's an amazing addition and great combination.
She's a wonderful. Dana Russell is my guest artist, and she's a wonderful singer. She's very versatile. She can sing from light opera all the way to kind of belting some of the musicals like from Chicago and so forth. She can just do it all. And I agree with you. She sings 2 or 3 songs in each half of my show, and she's a special featured guest. As you say, it's a little bit icing on the cake, a little sparkle in the piano performance.
Exactly. And I think, another thing that I just love about your programs is that each individual piece is like it's having a conversation with the audience, but the whole entire program has this beautiful flow. Like it's, like you're launching onto this incredible voyage, and you take your audience members really on a quest from start to finish of the program. And so how do you select the pieces that you're going to put together in these different unique programs?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. That's wonderful. I spend the longest time that I spend is putting together a program. I go over sometimes. My wife gets upset with me because it's 2 days before the program, and she's doing lights and sound, and I'm changing because I think of a better flow. And a lot of it is how one arrangement ends and the next one starts. And I don't want them to be in the same key, for example. I don't want them to have the same flourishes or the same feel. And I do want it to progress and come to a big finish at the end. So it's hard to describe just how I do it, but it's the thing that occupies most of my thinking time is how to prepare a program that does hopefully what you say it does. And that's the whole thing should be a complete satisfying whole.
I think it really, really is. And I think yet another thing that sets you apart from any of the other pianists out there is that you have the personality to match your virtuoso, you know, so you have things that you love to share, and you share them in such entertaining and just, it's the complete experience.
Thank you, Meredith. I love laughter as much as I love sincere, passionate playing. And I grew up with music in the house all the time. And my mom was a great, in no way professional entertainer, but she was a great, when we had people over the house, she knew how to make them feel happy and make them feel comfortable. And I always feel as though the performances ought to make you feel like you're in someone's living room and you're telling a story and you're saying, guess what happened? This happened. And here's an interesting fact about the piece that I'm going to play. And I do that with enthusiasm because I'm genuinely enthusiastic about it. And the way that I'm presenting the music I'm going to play is, I can't wait for you to hear this. It's not about me. It's about this piece of music that I just love, and I think you will too. And I think together, that I worked at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles for 6 years. And so I learned I was a student of comedy, and I learned how to write humorous stories and things anyway. But it all comes from a sincere wanting to share my view about the music. And then I couch it in a kind of a humorous way usually.
And you also do some really unique researching. I mean, I think you pull out some gems that your audience isn't going to already know. I think that sometimes artists are, when they try to fill in the spaces in between the songs, it's kind of jibber jabber. It's, I know I have to talk to the audience. I'm not really comfortable doing it. I'm just going to say the same predictable thing. And you find these gems about these pieces. In fact, you're even writing a book, aren't you?
That's right. Yes. Yes. The book is going to be called Play It Like You Mean It. And it means what it says. In order to talk to people, you need to find, I've been intimately associated with these pieces of music before I'm performing them, obviously. And so it's a matter of finding, it's not searching for some little interesting bit of anecdote or something. It's actually, I've lived with these pieces, and I was interested genuinely in the composer or how it was written, the musical and so forth, so that it's telling an experience rather than a fact.
So what's one of the most kind of kooky or unexpected things that you found in your research about one of these composers or one of these compositions?
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about it particularly, but I would say overall, something that is just fascinating to me is that the great composers nowadays are writing for musicals and movies. We don't have any more, the people who didn't leave us any descendants are Beethoven, Schubert, Chopin, Mozart. Some of these great composers, there are no more of that line. And the list goes on, Berlioz and Bizet and Ravel and Debussy, Aaron Copland, George Gershwin coming more close to present time. So all of our great composers we have them, John Williams, John Barry, Stephen Sondheim, but they're writing musicals and movies, and it's just fascinating. That's where the great music is happening, in my view.
Wow, right. I'd never thought about that. That's
remarkable how many did not leave us any descendants. I mean, truly, it's
wow.
Verdi wrote Rigoletto, and
right.
No more Verdis around,
Wow, yeah, that's incredible. So as we kind of finish up with people, some of the programs that you have, what are some of the programs that you've come up with, that you've created? Obviously, I think your holiday offering, and since we are in the holiday season, I mean, is just luscious and rich and incredible. And so tell us a little bit about these programs that you have created.
particularly for Christmas, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we only get to do Christmas a few weeks out of the year. And some of my favorite arrangements are Christmas carols. And I'll tell you why, both, not just the Christmas carols, but both the secular and the sacred carols. And that's because, first of all, everyone who's listening knows the words. So that helps, since I'm playing them on the piano. But when I was putting together these different albums, I have 4 albums of Christmas tunes, I really studied the words over and again. We've all said, for example, joy to the world, the Lord has come. But when you think about what this really, really means, and oh my gosh, oh my God, this is so joyous, oh wow, and bells clanging and people running through the streets, joy to the, pardon me, joy to the whole wide world. And that's what was the genus of the arrangement for Joy to the World, for example. A little town, We Three Kings of Orient are, it's telling the story of this arduous trip that they're making to follow this star. But it's because you read the words and you get what those words were actually all about. Yes. And the same thing with something as lighthearted as Jingle Bells or Sleigh Ride. I want to see the horses clip-clopping down the snowy path and try to create that feel and that sound. So anyway, those are, you can see I get very excited about the Christmas.
Exactly. And so what are some of the other programs? Because again, you're like keeping these amazing composers alive, and yet you're giving them relevance to, you're giving the piano a renewed relevance, and really exposing generations and generations to the potential of piano, and also these amazingly delicious composers, and then the potential of rich arrangements, making your own, taking this work and making it your own, which I think you successfully have done. So what are some of the other programs that you have put together?
Right. One is mostly, I don't have a name for it, but it's mostly movie themes, because those are very rich with see, interestingly, with movie themes, whether or not you connect them to the film, they have these great, for example, Out of Africa, whether you know the film or not, Somewhere in Time, whether you know the film or not, they have this expansive, wonderful feel of that give you this in Out of Africa, the whole way. Well, Titanic is another one. The way I play those movie themes is because of what the movie said to me. And I always think there's no reason for me to play a piece of music that's been played 1,000,000 times by 1,000,000 people unless I have something new to bring to it. Yes. And what I hope to bring to it is an emotional feel. I always feel that music is truly and literally a language of its own. Yes. And just like any language, it has all the rules of grammar and the rules of paragraphs and parenthetical expressions and so forth. And that's kind of what guides me in how to, I'm trying to create in the listener a total experience, an emotional experience that he wants to feel. So that's
absolutely, yes. No, I mean it's really, really wonderful. And speaking of this approach, which I think is really in this day and age, having a really powerful why is so important. And I think the value of the arts and music is a critical element just for the human soul. I mean, creativity, even for the business world. I mean, research, as you know, is that people who have mastered the piano are also brilliant surgeons or brilliant business, because it demands a real special part of your brain. So for you, I know that outreach is also important to you, to pass the burning fire that you have on to future generations. What is your approach to doing outreach?
I'd love to do it. I have to be very honest with you. I get nervous in front of children. so if they're young, what I'm best at is coaching or doing a kind of a master class with I would say from high school age on up. Every now and then I'm asked to do something for children, and I love children, but I don't know how to communicate to them as well as I do
Well, and the high school and college age is really your genius zone, because that is how beautifully you connect, and your verbiage and the way that you explain things. Again, your sweet spot really is high school and college. And so that's a huge component and element of outreach. And I think that's a really, really, really important demographic to be able to speak to, and to help them understand how to take their own unique vision and, like you, put a thumbprint on something that may have been around for centuries, but it can still be fresh.
I'm glad you said that. I feel very comfortable doing that. Not only that, I get very enthusiastic and very excited and very passionate about it, because that is what my passion is taking a beautiful melody and sculpting it in some kind of a way that you want to keep your listeners' attention. Like, what is the purpose? What are you playing for? Is it for yourself? If that's fine, then do it in your own, practice room. But if you're playing to communicate to others, there are a lot of things you need to do to grab their attention and then hold it throughout the whole tune. That's something I could go on and on about, because that's what I do, and that's what I love doing. And apparently, it's just my strength. Taking a beautiful melody that's already been written and not just embellishing it, not just putting flowers on it, but actually making it into a new statement of itself, I guess is the best way I could say it.
Yes. And I think one really beautiful thing that you've managed and you continue to manage to do is, even though you have been doing this for decades, because of your passion, every single concert is fresh, and it comes off as if you're performing this, like you said, for your special group of friends and family and loved ones, and you're doing it for the very first, most exciting time.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I can agree with you, because I'm truly that excited every time. I cannot wait to get on stage. I know some people have stage fright or anxiety or whatever. I just can't wait to get on that stage. And it's to show you these wonderful pieces of music. Oh my gosh, wait till you hear this. Not because it's from me, but because I know how to connect, and I know that I'm connecting. And as a matter of fact, during a show, if I'm playing a piece of music and I can just feel, any performer can feel that, if it's connecting or if it's not. If it's not, I'll shorten it or change it. I improvise in the middle of it. I over years and years, I know what things work. By work, I mean what actually communicates and brings a listener in and makes them feel satisfied and whole musically with what they just heard. That's the whole aim of it.
So do you have a favorite memory or one from the years of touring that you would be inclined to share?
Yeah, I do. This is about 20 years ago. I was playing a concert in North Carolina, and two.
Yeah. Yep. That's how real it is. This is the reality, folks. This is the real reality sort of show.
After the show, I saw a young man in a wheelchair, and he had been a climber, rock climber, and he had an accident.
Yeah. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. This is really, and see, this is what I say this to you who might be watching. This is what makes Emile his genius, right? Because he is so engaged and connected. And there are many people who are great, but I think what adds the brilliance and the sparkle that stays forever, and that really makes it a once in a lifetime sort of experience, and why people bring him back, is because of this emotional vulnerability and connection and total engagement with the people. And he invests in the audience, taking something big and powerful away. It's incredible, Emile.
Thank you. This young gentleman said, that he had, he was injured. He was not permanently injured. But he hadn't been in a wheelchair for a couple of years, and he stood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And this is
the first time in a year or so to give me a standing ovation.
Wow. It's incredible. It is incredible. And why we do what we do, and why
The power
what
of music.
you
Yes.
do, and why the arts
Yeah,
is
that's important.
is the lifeblood of the human spirit, I think.
Well, and yeah, and what the power of music to
Yes.
you know, I mean, it's just
Yes.
pretty amazing.
Yes.
That's why we're all in this, aren't we?
Yes. Yes. Well, so I don't think we would be able to top that, Emile. That is incredible. And so thank you so much for being willing to share that with
Well,
me and with us today. And you can see why I say that my roster is intentionally small, because there's such immensity within it. These are epic, not just performers, but human beings that I am honored to work with, and that I know and I love how musically there are raves, and yet the rave reviews that come back to me are so much deeper about Emile and about these incredible performers. So if you're interested in finding out more about Emile, I hope you'll reach out to me, Meridith, spelled MERIDITH, at theaxeagency.com. And of course, have a look at our new website. And I would love to have Emile be a very special part of your season in 1920. So thank you so much for letting us share this little behind the scenes about the amazingly talented and incredible human being, Emile Pandolfi. And until next time, we will talk to you soon. Thank you, Emile.
thank you, Meredith. Thanks for having me.